Welcome everybody. This is How to English, Teach and Learn with Gavin M.
It's a podcast about teaching and learning English as a foreign language.
All opinions stated are personal and references will be given where possible. Hi Em.
Hi Gav.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Here we go. Right,
Okey-doke.
episode 32. Are you sitting back comfortably?
No, I'm leaning really far forward and I'm all eager and ready to
yeah.
listen to what you've got to say.
I thought we could just have a chat,
Yes.
which would be really nice.
Okay.
And hold on, let me clear my throat. Now I'm definitely
Excuse
ready.
you.
Yes. And I thought we could have a chat and just talk about stuff. Like, how's it going? You all right?
I'm fine, yeah.
You've been busy recently?
Fairly busy.
Done a lot of teaching?
Online and some in-house, as they say.
Have you? Well, like office to office?
Yeah. Well, I haven't got an office I don't know.
From your home office to your remote office?
Yeah.
Student's office?
Yeah, I'm going into some companies and I'm teaching kind of half and half at the moment.
Really? And how has that changed over the last few weeks?
It hasn't changed very much over the last few weeks. I think it changed a couple of months ago where
right.
I started going back into offices
Right.
very gradually.
Uh-huh.
Some companies haven't done that. Some companies have just remained online. So my timetable's quite nice because I've got a nice, for me anyway, it's a nice combination.
So you've got a balance of working from home and working in the office.
Yeah, most of the companies are quite local, so I don't have to go on public transport.
The life of an English teacher.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not deliberately avoiding public transport, but it's just kind of coincided that
Okay.
the companies...
Deliberately? What do you mean deliberate?
Well, I'm not consciously deciding...
Like intentionally, on purpose?
Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
choosing my lessons based on that. I am just literally going where I need to go. And just as it happens, it's not on public transport.
And the students have requested you to come and visit them in their offices or at the school, or what is it?
It was their companies that then decided to open their doors again. So they're allowing
to the public.
visitors,
Okay.
so the teachers can go in, so clients can go in, which is weird because some companies have just stayed totally based at home and others have opened only to their staff and no public visitors allowed.
Hold on. So you've got some staff are working remotely, like exclusively from their homes.
Yeah.
Some are their offices are open only to the employees of the company and no visitors are allowed.
Yeah.
And what was the third one?
Others are just open as normal and anyone can come and go.
Are these different types of businesses?
Well, yes and no. I've got a couple of similar industries, for example, software IT companies, where they're totally opposite. One is open to anyone and the other one is closed completely in a home office.
Oh, home office. Oh dear. Okay.
Home office, yeah. Working from home. Sorry.
Did we say home office in English?
We don't. We've had this
What is
conversation.
the expression?
I don't know.
It is working from home, isn't it?
But I've heard home office
I think
often.
It's going to catch on, isn't it?
It just
eventually.
sounds okay. Yeah, because the first time a student said to me, I'm home office today, I just assumed they were talking about the British government, but it's not.
What do you mean the British government?
It's that department, isn't it? That's like...
Oh, is that like Homeland Security or...
No, it's the...
Isn't
no,
that what
not their security
James Bond,
company.
James Bond works for? He's like Secret Service. They protect the country from invasion.
Yeah, I thought
Isn't that the Home
Homeland
Office?
Security just sounds like a company that come and put an alarm in your building.
I
But
thought that's what the Americans called it.
I have no idea.
Oh,
Do
okay.
they?
Well, I don't know. I was asking you.
Okay, we've deviated slightly.
Sorry, you were saying working from home.
Yeah, so I've got a full kind of mix of different situations. So as it's happened now, my timetable is kind of mixed as well. So it's quite, I quite like it.
Okay.
And it's summer, so it's nice to sort of walk everywhere. Might be a different story when the winter comes. And
yes.
If it's still the same, I don't know. I'll have to start thinking about getting on trains again and
sure.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, and then you'll have to find out about what the rules are, what you can and can't do, and taking precautions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what the rules are at the moment? Like some people
in this country, there are, I think, certain places like pharmacies and hospitals. You have to wear masks. I don't know if there is a limit to numbers of people in one place. I'm not sure at the moment if there is, but the rules seem to change all the time, so it's really hard to keep up with it.
If you were, let's imagine you were now visiting your students at their offices, what things should you do?
Before I go in the building, you mean?
Yeah, or like travelling there, and then when you arrive there, what things do you need to consider?
If I was getting public transport, you mean, then I would have to know if there was a mask regulation, which I think there is on the metro, for example, but not on buses and trams. I think that's changing next week.
Oh, really?
So I think, yeah.
You have to keep an eye on the kind of changing situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
keep
then
up to date.
It's probably standard practice to use hand sanitizer as you walk in the building. They have some kind of sanitary station or something at the beginning of the reception. So you just squirt your hands and walk in.
So you have to clean your hands, be ready to sanitised and entering that.
Yeah. And then you need to know if you need to wear a mask in the actual company. So some of them do. Some companies have got a mask policy. Okay. So you can't actually go in without one.
Oh, wow.
But it's different for everyone. So that changes. I usually just message the student beforehand to say, do I need a mask or not?
You can always check with the receptionist.
Yeah, well, they usually shout at you if you go in without one anyway, so it's quite clear at the same, as soon as you go in, yeah.
So how is this different to, 6 months ago?
Oh, it's totally different. I didn't even know what hand sanitizer was 6 months ago.
Did you not?
I didn't, well, all right, exaggeration. I did know what it was, but I definitely didn't use it, and I didn't own any. So it seems very normal now to go around sort of with that and masks as well, and just being more cautious about what I touch, and like even when students offer me some water or something, I'm just like aware of the fact I've touched that glass now, so I'm not going to touch my face. So,
oh wow,
that sort of thing. I don't think I did a lot of that in the past, but I'm much more aware of it now.
Oh wow. What about greeting the students?
I never did any of that shaky handy thing anyway after the first lesson. Like when you first meet someone, I do it, but I don't do it as a rule now. I never did it. I think you did, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I still do, I think, every time I meet anybody. Yeah. But I think my students have always got this need to shake my hand. I'm not sure what it is. I don't think it's going to change.
No.
Ever.
Yeah. But even then, with all this going on.
Same with you. I'm now really self-conscious and like, I think, right, I've done that. That's it. I'm not touching my face anymore. Yeah. That's it. Those hands stay below the chin or whatever.
In the box. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really it for me. Like, that's the big differences.
Yeah. So that is a big change. Where do you see yourself 6 months from now? Can you sort of picture that?
That's an interview question. I haven't really thought that far ahead.
No. Am I putting you on the spot?
A little bit. I don't really see much difference, to be honest. I think I'm going to still be doing what I'm doing, working. I think now is not a good time to start looking for another job.
Right.
So I feel like maybe I want that security of having the students I've got already and knowing those lessons are going to happen.
Yeah.
So to actually just quit that and leave, which is probably what I would have done, previously to all this happening. I don't think...
You said quit as in, like, resign.
Yeah.
Just give up your job.
Quit the job that I'm in now to go and find a different job somewhere else, possibly, or in a different country, maybe. I just don't feel comfortable now. I want the security of the work, and I also like the security of knowing where I am and knowing what's around and, the people and that. Maybe I've become a little bit more
Settled?
Well, I was going to say, like, yeah, settled is a good word, but also just a bit more cautious, I suppose.
You might continue this balance of 50-50. You've got your online students.
I don't know if I've got that option of deciding that. I think that will be decided for me. So I don't know. Personally, I would like that, yeah. I quite like having, and at the moment it is literally every other day that I'm teaching either at home and then I go out the next day and then I'm at home the next day. And that's really nice because that's sort of, I don't get bored of either one and, you know, fed up with it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think when the other companies start opening again, which hopefully they will, who knows, I will just go out and be out every day.
Okay. So you'd be happy to go back into that routine?
Happy, yeah, happy. Let's say happy.
A nice thing about our jobs is that we do get to meet people face to face.
Yeah, and I think
generally
I missed that.
But that's not always the case for teachers, of course.
No.
I mean, some of my students I probably will never meet, sadly, because they're all lovely people.
And you get used to that, obviously. You do get used to it, and it doesn't seem that strange. But I remember...
Get used to what? Give me an example.
You get used to being online, and you get used to the way the lesson is and the structure of it and the lack of reading. I think reading signals is really hard online. It's quite hard to pick up on that very subtle thing that you get when you're in a environment like an actual room where you can see the person and what they're looking at and how they're reacting. Even just, you know, the way they sit and everything. And you don't have that with the screen online.
Okay.
And I didn't even realise that was what was sort of lacking. But now I'm going back to offices. Right. It was so apparent immediately just how immediate it is that you're with someone and you're doing all those things that you do sort of face to face and you're reading their body language much better and you're seeing whether or not they're paying attention a bit more and following what they do. And it's lovely. I really enjoyed, you know.
So that interaction, that eye contact and reading people and...
just the physicality of it, just the actual, you know, being in the room together, it is such a different feeling. So I think I missed it without realising I was missing it.
Oh, right. So
and when I went back in, it was like, oh, this is great. I like this. Yeah.
So you got used to, like, not being in that physical space with them, or you couldn't?
I think I did get used to it, but then after I went back in to the office, I realised getting used to it was a bit sad.
Oh, okay.
So it was nice to not be used to being with people in a room, if that makes sense. And that
what
to be...
That? Give me that one again.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. God, it's gone.
To be used to being in the room. I like it.
Well, I had to get used to being in the room again.
Okay.
And it was nice, in a nice way.
Yes.
Because sometimes it's like get used to things is something a bit difficult. But it was nice to be together again.
Yeah, it then became familiar again of being with somebody in that teaching environment and feeling the need to interact with somebody.
Yeah, and I actually remember feeling quite self-conscious, like, because people were looking at me and I could see them looking at me and they weren't looking at a camera or like, you know, when you're online and you don't really see it as eye contact because you're looking at a lens or, you know, a camera and they're looking at a camera. So there's not that connection.
You look at the camera?
I try to.
I look at their face and then I realise I must be looking like a couple of inches below their
which
eyes.
Is, I think, what most people do, which is makes you feel you haven't got that eye contact.
I did have a student once say, I don't know what you're looking at, but could you look at me instead because it's making me really uncomfortable.
Oh, I actually try to, as much as I can, look at the actual webcam.
Do you?
Yeah.
But the problem is they've got quite a bright light on them. And
mine doesn't.
Oh, does it not?
Mine's just literally a camera lens.
Oh.
So I just sort of look into the near distance in this kind of must be slightly strange. I don't know what it looks like. That's the thing. That would be good to know what it looks like.
But if you're looking at the camera, then it must look like you're looking at the
them,
student.
Yeah, and I'd gotten really used to doing that. Mm-hmm. So then when I did go back into the room and I was looking at their eyes, I was like, wow. I'm really self-conscious.
Was it really intense?
It was really intense. And I was sort of looking away a lot more than I think I would normally do.
Okay.
It didn't feel natural. So I had to get used to eye contact, natural eye contact.
That's what I was thinking. That's so different from teaching online. You really don't get that connection between you and the student.
Yeah.
And I guess they need it as well from a student's point of view. Them looking at the teacher and seeing the responses of the teacher. Like, have I made this sentence correctly? Have I said this? Is there an error here? Am I going to be corrected? And there's so much in that eye contact.
Exactly. So when you're online, you just say their name and they sort of are aware of the fact you're probably looking at them. But who knows? You could be sort of doing something else in the background. So yes, there's no getting away from that when you're in a room with people.
No, that's true. Em, would you like a coffee?
Thanks, Gav, but you know I only drink tea.
Oh, yeah. Well, that could be arranged.
Oh?
Follow us. If you're enjoying listening, watching or reading Gav and Em's How to English Pod, visit ko-fi.com/How to English Pod.
That's coffee, ko-fi.com/How to English Pod. And it would be lovely if you bought us a coffee or a tea to show us support, and you could even get a mention on our show if you'd like.
Em, can I interrupt you for a second?
Go ahead.
I have just kind of demonstrated how I teach.
I had a feeling that was what you were doing.
Did you suspect? Was it because my eyes are completely dead?
No.
And my mind is entirely somewhere else.
You did seem a little bit like there was something kind of going on.
Yeah.
That I was being possibly led somewhere.
Did it feel more like an interview than a conversation?
No, it didn't. It felt really nice that you were making me really elaborate on things, and you were diving deep into
showing interest.
Yeah, you were definitely showing a lot of interest.
Okay.
And you were making me expand on lots of points that I was making and explain what I meant.
Yeah, that's good. Because typically what I do with students is I would say, can you give me a synonym for that? Or, you know, like the example you said, home office, which my ears prick when I hear this. And I think, oh, hold on. I'd never heard that before I'd moved to, you know, one of these countries abroad. And so I always just say to them, oh, well, do you know what the Home Office is in the UK? So it's something very different to maybe what they were talking about. So it's always good just to check that.
So you don't say it's wrong. You just kind of say there's a more maybe familiar or popular way to say it. Or maybe there's a different way to say it that I've heard that's not as, you know, obscure as saying the Home Office, because that means something else.
I do check that when I hear things and I think, I'm really not sure that's right. And I might flag it with the student, and then I would definitely do some research, and I go online, have a look at a few videos, or, you know, go to the dictionary, look at references, check not only British English, obviously, just to see if there is that expression used in another language. And it often is. I've just never heard it.
Home Office is one of them, because I've worked in a big, you know, multinational corporation where they have these colleagues from all over the world, and they do use Home Office as a general term, and it's even in their contracts. And they are written in English, so I don't go into it too much to say, well, you mustn't say that. I just explain, well, if you come out of your office and you say it to someone in just a conversation, they might not know what you're talking about, or they might think something else. Coming back to your technique, I think I like how much you asked so many questions. You made me want to tell you
That's good.
more.
So it actually felt quite authentic, like we were
Like
having
very
a real
authentic.
Okay, that's good. Because I've never taught anybody your level before. I must admit, I was a bit nervous.
Well, you did upgrade me on, I think, was it what you were asking me about my, what was the word? What was the word you kept asking me to give you another word for it? Yeah, that's it. So you were really making me think of all the words I had in my head already.
Yeah.
Especially the things I couldn't remember as well, but I'll get there eventually if I ever remember that word. But yeah, it was like you exhausted my dictionary in my own head.
Yes. And when I'm teaching, the student will obviously be more limited than you. And then I would supply a couple of words. Yeah. And one very useful tip is, if you're teaching online, have thesaurus.com open. Yeah. And then the student will use a word, and then you might think, I think there's a better word than this. And you can let the conversation go and think, well, it made sense, but maybe it's not the right word. And then you can Have a look in the thesaurus, and then you get the word and you think, that's a better word. And then you say, yeah, that was a really good point, what you said about, and then you use that word.
Okay.
And if the student reacts as you expect them to, then you've kind of fed in some language and you think, hopefully they'll use that word next time. Or at least I've just increased their vocabulary. Obviously, if it's the wrong word, then I would stop them and then say, oh no, this word would be better.
Yeah. I really liked that technique, and I liked how it felt very natural. I think it can maybe on a slightly opposite side, it could sound a bit like you're saying that word isn't okay. Because a lot of the time you kind of rephrased what I'd said.
Yes.
Which sounded a bit like, well, did I say it wrong, or did I just say it differently?
Yeah.
And so
that is a risk, I think.
Yeah, I think as long as you establish that method.
I think my students are familiar with the fact that I rephrase
exactly
almost everything they say.
Exactly. So it's only when you say, no, that's not the right word, or it's not said like that, that they're aware of it. But I think because I've had conversations with students just doing the natural thing where somebody says, oh, it's hot today, and you say, yeah, it's boiling. Yeah. And then they think, well, I can't say hot then. I've got to say boiling because my teacher said it's boiling, not it's hot. So because we don't do that, do we, naturally in English? We don't say, oh, it's hot. Yes, it's hot. We generally tend to change the word to agree, and it's really confusing, I think, for students.
Yeah, but we can teach that as well. I've definitely done a bit of
teach that. I've never taught that.
Oh, yeah. You do that with the example where you say, oh, the journey was very long, and you say, yeah, it wasn't short.
Oh, okay.
Those
using
kind of
negatives
and then other expressions that work well with it.
Okay.
So if you've taught that, maybe they will be more prepared for you to, give synonyms.
Yeah.
And I was moving around the tenses. I don't know if you noticed.
I didn't notice that, but I think that's because I can use them quite well.
Yes. I tried to get you to use conditionals a bit, but to be honest, I think this technique that I'm using generally with my students, and I would say these are my beginning of B1, maybe end of A2, but definitely B1 up to as high level as they go. I think this is quite an effective technique with them, unless there's some very specific language they don't know. I need to teach them, and then I'll say, okay, now if you make that mistake again while we're chatting, I'm going to be cross, something like that. But this technique actually comes from something that I learned many years ago, for grammar specifically, and some vocabulary, just writing questions, and just have loads and loads and loads of questions, like conditionals, for example. Write a series of conditionals. If you work for this company, what will you enjoy? That's a great question, isn't it? And so basically students have about like 10 questions, and they're just repeating the grammar, they're repeating the language, and they're asking the question to their partner. And I would just leave them on their own to do that. Or if it was only me and them, then I would ask the questions, or I'd ask them to ask me the questions. I was going to
say, I think as a one-to-one, it is very intense, this technique.
Yes.
Like as a student, even as just a person talking to you, it felt quite, wow, this is like intense. I've got to keep talking. And I think for a one-to-one, that is very hard. So I would be very aware of that. And maybe just personally, I would have other activities, but I know you probably would just pepper them with constant questions.
Oh no, we just keep going and going. They're exhausted by the end of it. But they come back, so I think that they're getting something out of it. But I just wanted to focus on that, which was this technique comes from building exercises that were lots and lots of questions.
Yeah.
And so I could sit there with questions in front of me and just keep asking. And eventually I realised I could just do it without having to prepare.
Because the questions come naturally anyway, I guess. Exactly. But do you think, slightly different question, do you think the students are aware of the fact they're learning something using this technique? Or do you just feel like they leave thinking, well, that was a good chat?
It's an interesting question. I've had positive feedback. And I think sometimes that they also want a bit more of a traditional lesson. And as I said, I would have a worksheet ready if I felt that was useful. But it depends a bit on my mood.
Do you feel like it's useful? You mean they might need that kind of...
They might need the language, or maybe we've done a bit too much chatting and they just seem like, now would be a good time to do a bit of traditional gap filling. I just feel
a bit like that's a token gesture, though. Like you're just saying that because, this is what We should do. Why not just keep going with that technique?
I do with most of my students, but obviously students have limitations. And so if they are only intermediate, they do need to learn in a bit more of a formal way how to use certain language.
So you think lower levels need that structure and that kind of support?
I think it kind of punctuates my lessons. So then I'll have a couple of lessons of chat, and then we'll do a bit of a worksheet. And it'll be really key language, something that I know they're going to need. I use English file. I mean, the materials are great. There's an activity in there, or I'll use resources, and it might be like find someone who, and then send a group out to mingle and practice all this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can I ask a bit more about what you do with groups then in this way?
Yeah, I don't tend to do it so much with groups. I still struggle with having conversations with groups because I just imagine there'll be a student sitting there thinking, I'm really bored of listening to that person talk about their garden. And I know that I have to wait another 4 people until I get to have a conversation. But, you always hope you've got those groups where the students are interacting with each other.
And interested in each other. But
I do, but then I prompt them. I just say, OK, I want you all to ask questions of this person about their garden. Ask about snails and slugs and compost. That's the word I was looking for. There was another technique that I wanted to quickly go through that I haven't used for a while now, and I sort of regret not doing that. And if you thought the previous technique of conversation and directing the student and feeding in language, if you thought that was intense, that's nothing compared to this one. And I will have to find the original person who created this technique, but it's one of my favourites.
Are you going to demo this?
Well, I thought I might try.
Okay, am I the guinea pig?
It just occurred to me as something that I think is so useful. Again, it could be used with almost any level. You choose the language that's most appropriate for that level. If you're teaching how long have you been? So we got present, perfect, continuous. How long have you been? So I would check that you knew the language. Hopefully, it would come from a conversation we were having, and I'd say to you, oh, you've used past simple, but it's not finished. We need to continue. It's an activity that's repeating. It started in the past and is continuing until the present. So the grammar should be, how long have you been?
And you would write this down?
Probably if I was teaching online, I'd write it into the chat. If I had a board, I might write it on there and then just show them that it's got ing in the following verb. So I might start with, how long have you been living here? Okay, could you repeat the question?
How long have you been living here?
Exactly. Okay, so how would you answer that question?
2 years.
Okay, can you give me the whole sentence? I
have been living here for, I think it's 4 years, sorry. I have been living here for 4 years.
Remember the contraction, I've been living here for...
Oh, sorry, I was literally copying what you said. But okay, can I say it normally? I've been living here for 4 years.
That's it, exactly. Okay, now I'm going to change the verb. So, for example, let's think, work here.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay, so what's the question again?
How long have you been working here?
That's it, exactly. And your answer?
I've been working here for 4 years.
That's it, right. But now we're going to move into the phase of pronunciation. Now, when you listen to somebody saying this, they probably say, how long have you been? How long have you been? Can you say that?
How long have you been?
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 That's it. What was the first question?
How long have you been living here?
That's it. How long have you been living here? Again.
How long have you been living here?
Again.
How long have you...
How long have you been
living
Listen,
here?
how long have you been?
How long have you been?
Oh, but happy.
How long have you been?
How long have you been living here?
How long have you been living here?
That's great. And the answer?
I've been living here for 4 years.
I've been living here. I've been living here.
I've been living here for 4 years.
I've been living here for 4 years.
I've been living here for 4 years.
Okay, question again.
How long have you been living here?
One more time. How long have you been?
How long have you been?
How long have you been living here?
How long have you been living here?
Answer.
I've been living here for 4 years.
That's very good. What was the second question?
How long have you been working here?
That's it. How long have you been?
How long have you been?
How long have you been working here?
How long have you been working here?
Answer.
I've been working here for 4 years.
I've been working here for...
I've been working here for 4 years.
That's it, exactly. And then you just carry on changing
God,
the verb.
My brain is scrambled. I liked your fingers, by the way.
Yeah, I should explain. I've been sort of pointed. Can you describe it to us?
Just on the intonation of the word that should be stronger. You went up with your finger and you were very sort of animated.
I was conducting.
To be honest, that is very, very intense.
That was only 2.
I think like 10 minutes of that and your students' brains would be leaking out their ears.
But it's quite nice. How long have you been?
It's great. It's great drilling. There's no way you can be checking your messages or thinking about what you're having for lunch.
No.
Absolutely not. You're in that moment and you are focused.
And then all you need to do, either the student comes up with their own verbs, we've got live, we've got work, we've got, I don't know, drive that car, we've got any of these action verbs. And then if they stumble onto a state verb, then you probably have already taught them present perfect, simple. Yeah. But if you haven't, then that's a good time to reflect.
You don't run before you can walk, do you? Present perfect?
Well, I don't know.
After present perfect continuous?
I don't know. It just depends where it comes up in life.
Yeah, okay.
If it doesn't...
We're not doing it textbook here.
No, we're not.
It's just organic.
It is, exactly. That's it. So if they suddenly say, had that mobile phone, okay, well, we know to have, in this case, is a state verb. So how long have you had? How long have you had?
Okay.
How long have you had? Can you say that?
No, not anymore. I'm done, thank you.
All right.
What I really like about that method is it's materials free.
It is.
Anywhere, anytime.
It is.
You can just do that.
It's
great.
Yeah, and if you don't have so many ideas in your head as a teacher, you might just want to prepare some of those. So live in this country, or, live in your apartment, or work for this company. Eat these sandwiches.
Yep.
How long have you been eating these sandwiches?
That's great. They look a bit like they're old. But I think also going back to the first method, I think everything you say has to kind of be generated from their answers, doesn't it? So if you say, what did you do at the weekend? And the answer is nothing. I think you just don't accept that.
Yeah.
Like, you have to stamp on that straight away with your students and say, well, everybody did something. Even if you did nothing, you did something. So what was the nothing that you did?
Exactly.
And then whatever they say, even if they just say, I sat on my sofa, then you just say, well, what kind of sofa have you got, and how long have you had the sofa, and what colour is the sofa, and I think you just got to try and liven up any conversation that way.
Yeah, I agree. And I just remembered that one of the reasons why we decided to focus on this topic was, do you remember somebody wrote to us on Facebook?
That's right.
And
asked us about our methods of teaching.
That was it, exactly. So he wrote to us and he asked us if we could take a bit of time and just sort of do some sort of mini demos. His name escapes me at the moment, but I will try to remember. And thank you very much for your question. And to everybody, thank you for your questions as well. It was Bulmer Hobson.
Yeah, that's it. Nice question and good inspiration for us.
It was really good. So thanks for that, Bulmer. And everybody else, please keep writing your questions to us and your suggestions, because we're really enjoying the inspiration that we're getting from you, and it's helping us to create fantastic content.
That was fantastic content.
All right. I can't believe how long we've been talking. We need to let these people get on with their lives again.
All right. Okay. Get on with your lives, everyone.
Okay. Everybody has been listening to How to English Teach and Learn with Gav and M, and I've been Gav.
And I've been M.
Okay.
I still am M.
You are, yeah.
I will be M.
Hopefully.
Tomorrow.
Exactly. Okay. See you next week.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.